Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where it's all about helping you complete your financial journey to retirement. Discover time-tested strategies and get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Break away from the herd and go for the retirement you dream of. And now, here's your host, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, back on Personal Pension Radio, episode number 125. Amazing, 125 episodes. Thank you all so much for your support. Those of you who've been with me for a long period of time, I really appreciate the support. I appreciate the emails, the connections, the comments. Thank you all. Now, for those of you who are new, I am the income engineer broadcasting from my studio workshop here in Southern California. My mission, if I choose to accept it, which I have, is to actually deliver the retirement dream that Wall Street has promised for so many years and unfortunately has not delivered. It just failed to deliver. It wasn't going to deliver to me so that I could deliver it to my clients. I had to go out there and put it all together and all the pieces of the puzzle together myself. That's where the income engineer was born, my passion for retirement income planning and all of the pieces that go into it. It's so important that you remember that my passion is retirement income, absolutely. But in order to get there, you've got to blend the investments. You've got to blend the life insurance and real estate discussions. And you've got to get the 401k right and the IRAs right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They all have to be engineered in the right balance, hence the income engineer. So my struggle, if you will, is fighting this conventional wisdom about retirement planning. Optimizing retirement income does not happen, as Wall Street and most financial advisors would lead you to believe, with a product. Optimizing retirement income does not happen with investments, life insurance, 401ks, real estate, annuities, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs. None of these things by themselves will actually help you optimize retirement income. It's just not going to happen. Retirement income at its fullest, at its best possible lifestyle generating maximum, only happens when you balance all of these things properly. When you balance your investments and your life insurance, your real estate and annuities and IRAs and such, once you've got that integrated approach, then you are rocking your way towards a lifestyle you can actually look forward to in retirement. Those of you who have been on my show or been with me on this show for a number of, going on 2 years, I guess, 125 episodes. I'll have to do the math. I can't even remember when I started. But those of you who've listened long enough, you've heard me say this, that retirement income planning by your traditionally trained Wall Street advisor is very generic. It's the same answer for most financial advisors, and that is save more money. Save, save, save. What's the answer to retirement and getting the best retirement possible? Save more money. Well, should I do anything else? No. Max out every bit of savings and investments you can. That's the solution, is save, save, save. And I joke about it, but the joke goes, how do I plan for retirement? Well, you save and invest more money. How do I plan for my kids' college? Well, you save and invest more. What happens if I lost my dog? Well, clearly you did not save enough money. I have a flat tire this morning. Oh my goodness, you need to save more money. My point being that the answer to everything from the classically trained Wall Street financial advisor is save more money. Okay, save more money is a really critical piece of a great retirement conversation, but it is only the first half of the retirement income journey. The first half is accumulation, save more money. Got it. The second half is distribution. The economics of retirement income distribution are completely different than the economics of accumulation. Totally different. Everything has to be taken into consideration. accumulation and distribution are different parts of that entire journey towards the lifestyle you hope for someday. Now, full disclosure, I am not an attorney. I am not a certified public accountant. I am a certified financial planning professional. But please, regardless of how qualified and amazing I might sound, please don't consider anything that you hear on this show as if you've received advice for you specifically. And please, dear goodness me, do not act on advice that you hear from financial entertainers on the radio, TV, or podcast. For those of you who are newbies, financial entertainers are people like Dave Ramsey, who is not licensed. He has no regulatory oversight. He can basically say in 30-second and 1-minute sound bites whatever the heck he wants, whether it's horribly right or horribly wrong. I think I said that in the reverse order, but I don't know. Horribly right? Is that possible? Can something be horribly right? I think it can be, because sometimes advice that's just thrown out by financial entertainers, it can be really good for a very specific person. But horribly right, being right for that one person, could mean that it's horribly wrong for most everybody listening. So my point is, please don't act on things that you hear on my show as if you've received personal advice, especially if you're hearing things from financial entertainers. Meet with a qualified financial planner. I would encourage you to meet with someone who is a certified financial planning professional, where he or she has worked really hard to actually be top of their game. And for those of you listening, I happen to be one of those. Contact me. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I am Kraig with a K, Strom, S-T-R-O-M. You can find me on Facebook, Google, YouTube, all over the place. But if you want to just get in touch, the real easy email address is Kraig with a K at kraigstrom.com. And you can send me a message that way. You can go to my LinkedIn page. Unfortunately, right now, you cannot go to personalpensionradio.com because that website is under construction. So if you're looking for any show notes or anything that you wanted to research or follow up on, just send me an email, Kraig at kraigstrom.com, and I'll reply right back to you. Now, let's get into the show. The first segment, watch your step. So last week, if you didn't hear it, I actually had gotten some feedback from some listeners on this. I'd actually mentioned a story of a couple of different companies. One, the company that has the big smiley face on the box, and the other, the big Arkansas retail giant. And I was doing some comparisons there that you may want to go back and listen to. I've gotten some good feedback on that, and I appreciate the feedback from some listeners. The point I was making is, when you're looking at an investment that just, you got to step back and say, wait a minute, don't get caught up in the hype. Don't get caught up in the hype. But definitely go back and take a listen to that if you have any questions. Now, this week, I want to cover this statement. I guess it's just this statement. I want to just say this because I don't remember where I heard it recently. It just reminded me of this, that I've heard it many times in many different ways. But here's the statement. This is a statement that I've made, and it is this. The IRS does not have a separate tax code for the rich, the poor, the young, or the old. They do not have a separate tax code for everybody. It's just one tax code. It's a gigantic gorilla riding a rhinoceros on a huge aircraft carrier, thick tax code. Don't get me wrong, it is huge and complicated and a pain in the butt, but they don't have 4 different tax codes. They have one tax code. It's the same tax code for everyone, but how do rich people end up paying lower income tax percentages than the middle class? We've heard that in this recent election season and in previous election seasons. We've heard, the rich they only pay this percentage. How is that possible? My wife and I work full-time jobs and we pay a higher percent tax. Well, here's the reason. The difference is that the rich or I'll call them more the well-informed. They tend to reach out for help from financial experts on tax. So the rich and the well-off, if you will, they tend to have access or seek out access to well-educated tax experts. Now, that is not to say, now I have to just give you a personal anecdotal story. That is not to say that all rich people have great tax advisors and great tax advice from financial planners and CPAs and lawyers and such. I have met a number of people over my career that most people would say, oh yeah, that person is hugely successful. They don't need any help from anybody. They must have all the help they need. So not true. Oh man. Some of the most successful people I've met are just nightmares when it comes to their tax planning and their estate planning and everything else. They're pretty much they're doing so well financially with the cash flow in the bank that they feel invincible and they ignore everything. So the idea that the tax code is special for people who make more money than you, that's just not true. But oftentimes, folks who are in that rich category, they reach out and access experts. They connect with financial planners. So the difference from just the average mainstream person is those successful people with the tax code tend to reach out and ask for someone to help them read the playbook. I call the tax code sometimes the tax playbook, but you've got to have a coach or someone who knows how to read the book, right? The rich often have a team of people, resources available to them that know how to read the book and take advantage of all the various plays that are in the book. Everyone else, aka the majority, follows the mainstream dogma. And for those of you who don't know what dogma is, it is the idea that which one thinks is true. So if you read it differently, I'll say it this way. Everyone else, the majority, generally follows that which they think to be true. And I've said it before on this show, who controls the marketing machine? Who controls the education machine that teaches financial advisors what to teach the general public? Well, Wall Street. Wall Street has a financial incentive to make sure that financial advisors are taught how to sell what Wall Street wants to be sold. That mainstream dogma, right? The majority follows the mainstream. They get in line with the rest of the sheep because, hey, this is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to do this. Well, I'm here to tell you, once again, the IRS tax code is not separate for everybody, where different classes of people get a different tax code. Just keep that in mind. If you're hating your taxes, it is not a done deal that says you don't have any options whatsoever. Oh, I don't have any options because I'm not rich. That's not true. You have options oftentimes that you just don't know about. So if you have questions about this, I have resources, I have connections for sure. Please reach out, send me an email. Say, hey, I'm not happy with this. Is there anything that I can do? I'm happy to review your specific situation, your details, and I have all the resources available through my firm that we can answer any tax-related question you might have. So please, if you have questions about that, send me an email. Now, here's an example, though. Okay, I want to give you a few examples. This idea, right, this idea of this mainstream thinking. So I've asked this question before. I've heard it asked before. I love this question. If what you thought to be true, remember that dogma, that which one thinks is true. So if what you thought was true turned out to be completely false, when would you want to know? And better put, let me put it this way. Better question. If what you thought about saving, investing, retirement, and taxes were not true, when would you want to know about it? If all those things that you think you know weren't true, when would you want to know? Let me give you a few examples. Okay. I hope the answer, of course, is right now. I want to know. So here's the first big one. This is a big one. Most people believe this. I've seen it. But it's amazing to me. But this is what mainstream dogma is all about. This is what the Wall Street message has been. So here's an example number one. Taxes will be lower when I retire. Really? Who said that's true? Who said that's true? And who believes that to be true? I'll ask you these questions, okay? Here we go. Everybody pay attention. Do you believe that taxes will be higher or lower in the future? I have never asked that question in any venue that people said, oh, I think they'll be lower. For sure, taxes will be lower. No one has ever said, oh, I believe taxes will be lower in the future. We all have this built-in DNA, this mistrust of the government and IRS, etc. We all believe that taxes will be higher in the future. However they structure them or make them look, taxes will be higher in the future. That's what most people believe. And yet, we've been sold this bill of goods that says, oh, don't worry, when you retire, taxes will be lower. Huh? How do we buy into that and nobody believes taxes will be lower in the future? Think about this. Will you have the same tax deductions, the same tax credits for your kids, tax deferrals like 401ks and IRAs? Will you have those things when you are retired? Well, no. So those things that lower my taxable income today will not exist when I'm retired. So is it entirely possible that if we believe taxes will be higher in the future and we won't have any tax deductions or credits or tax deferrals, is it possible that we could actually be in the same tax bracket or maybe higher when we retire, right? Right? That's a busted myth in my mind. That is not real. I haven't met anybody that I can think of that's retired and has a lower tax bracket. Matter of fact, I sat with one of my clients the last week. He's 79 years old, and his taxes have gone up. His effective tax rates and everything have gone up after his wife died. After she died. His tax rates have basically gone up because of the way the tax code is structured for him. Amazing. Now, next one. Here's another one of those mainstream ideas that is supposed to be universally true because banks and Wall Street said so. A 15-year mortgage is smarter than a 30 because you pay less interest. Huh. Wow. I wonder who might have said that. Who do we pay interest to on mortgage loans? That's right. We pay mortgage interest to banks. Who do you think might benefit the most from a 15-year mortgage? When you pay it back, the bank gets to lend it out again, right? Do you think maybe the banks have a financial incentive to teach and spread the gospel of 15-year mortgages being smarter than 30-year mortgages? Maybe, right? And this idea that you pay less interest. Well, great. If all we're going to talk about is interest, right? If all we're going to talk about is interest, absolutely. When you pay a 30-year mortgage, you will pay more interest than a 15-year mortgage. But wait. That's not the end of the story. Now, there's a lot that goes into 15 versus 30-year mortgages. I'm not going to get into that today. If you are thinking about refinancing and you're being told that a 15-year mortgage is a smart way to go, you got to call me. You got to contact me. Get in touch. Let me share the math, the complete picture of a 15 versus 30, and I'd imagine you'll be blown away. Right? But I want to stop on the protection aspect of a mortgage decision. Those of you who've listened to the show for a long time, you know that I am a protection-first financial planner. I believe in protecting the castle first. That way you can build safely. So let's look at the protection aspect of a mortgage decision. Can you pay a 30-year mortgage like a 15-year mortgage? So if you got a 30-year mortgage, could you pay more every month or every year and pay it like a 15-year mortgage? Yes. Yes, you can. You can accelerate the payments on a 30-year mortgage if you choose. On the flip side, can you pay a 15-year mortgage like a 30-year mortgage if your spouse gets cancer and you have to take a leave of absence at work? No, you can't. This is a true story, by the way. I'm watching it unfold right now. Someone that we know, husband and wife, spouse battling cancer, the other spouse having to take a leave of absence from work. 15-year mortgage with a very high monthly mortgage payment. Okay? Do you think those folks are a little financially strapped or nervous? Yes, they are. Can they go to their bank and say, hey, you know how we've been paying that 15-year mortgage, for these last, few years? Man, my spouse is really sick with cancer and I'm having a hard time working and it would be great if we could pay that like a 30-year mortgage. What's the banker going to say? No, your mortgage payment's due on the 5th. No, right? So just from a protection point of view, this mainstream idea that 15-year mortgages are better than 30, I believe is just patently false. It's just wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's not a safe position to be in. Okay. Now, how about this one? The 401k is the best way to save for retirement because you get a tax deduction. Wrong. IRAs and 401ks do not offer tax deductions. They offer tax deferral. It's so important. It has been just drilled into society that a 401k offers a tax deduction. That is not true. Tax deductions generally don't get recaptured someday. When you get a legitimate tax deduction or a tax credit, it's generally, that's it. You got a tax deduction. Great. The government doesn't come back and take that from you someday. A 401k, an IRA, a SEP IRA, all of those things, they give you a tax deferral. Someday, the government is going to come back and ask you for the tax dollars that they have yet to collect. And if you tie the question previously, do you believe that taxes will be higher or lower in the future? If you believe taxes will be higher in the future and you are deferring taxes today, you've got to be prepared that it may happen when you take your money out of those tax deferred accounts to pay for retirement. It's very possible you could be in a higher tax bracket than when the money went in. You just got to be prepared for it. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing if you're prepared. Okay? So those are some of the things that come to mind when I'm thinking of this idea of busting that mainstream dogma. If what you thought was true, right? If you thought a 15-year mortgage was smarter than a 30, I would challenge you on that every day of the week. I would challenge you always 15-year versus 30. If you think a 401k is the best because you get a tax deduction, that's just flat out wrong. You don't. You get a tax deferral, right? So please keep that in mind. Fight that mainstream, right? Step out of line now and then. Now, the last segment I want to go through. Last week, I still get a number of comments on this, that I had done this tour of my shop, and someone actually was questioning whether or not I actually got it for the price that I got it. And sure enough, someone listened to my podcast that I saw at a business meeting, someone that I know, and said, wow, I really can't believe you got that thing for $2,000. Yes, I did. So this week, though, I have to tell you this story. I'll tell you why I'm laughing as I get ready to tell you this here. So I actually struck up a conversation with an attorney that I met at a business meeting last week. And she is a patent and trademark attorney. So she helps people patent and trademark their inventions and ideas and such. And I just wanted to chat with her about a recent podcast that I had listened to, and I wanted to get her take on it. It was a great conversation. But as we got to, through our conversation, we're talking some more, found out that she has 2 boys under 12 years old. And when she found out that I have a 19-year-old daughter going on 20 this year, she started asking me for advice and guidance. This is why I'm laughing. Me, parenting advice. Oh, so funny. I got to call my mom and tell her this story. Like, I'm lucky that I survived my childhood and my teenage years, because I was such a hellion. My mom just bless her heart for letting me live, right? So someone asking me for parenting advice, it just makes me smile. I really appreciated the conversation, though, and I gave it some thought just for, during the, as we were starting to talk about it. And the first thing that always comes to mind when I think back about, my daughter's 19 going on 20, what did I do right? Because, oh my goodness, could I list off so many things that I did wrong, but what did I do right? And the first thing that comes to mind is something that I started doing after Madeline, turned 3. After her 3rd birthday party, oh, what an amazing just example of gluttony and first world problems that was that 3rd birthday party. Unbelievable. She ended up with so many presents that they were stacked up behind her, almost like a throne of presents behind her sitting on the table. And the little girls, the girls that were there with her and her little friends, just had to sit there and wait for Madeline to open presents. Madeline actually fell asleep. She almost fell over face first opening a present. It was she'd been swimming in the pool, and it was just amazing. Somewhere around that time period, after her 3rd birthday, I made a decision. I still don't remember where this decision evolved from, or where I got it from. But I made this decision that I would no longer give Madeline presents in the traditional sense for Christmas and birthday. Those are the traditional times when you buy presents and you wrap a bunch of presents and you wrap a bunch of presents. I just decided I just wasn't going to do it anymore. She's going to get presents from Grandma 1 and Grandma 2 and grandpas and aunties and uncles and friends, and she's going to get plenty of actual presents. So no, from that time forward, from her 4th birthday on, right, and Christmas that year, I started getting her events with me instead of presents. So I would plan events, right? I would plan events with Madeline so that she and I would go and do something together. Now, sometimes it was super simple. We went one year and I rented a cabin in the local mountains near where we live. And, it was very, to say the least, rustic. And Madeline had grown up as just the quintessential little California girl, beaches and Nordstrom and all that kind of stuff. That's what she was used to. And prim and proper little bedroom with her, puffy sheets. And so this rough and ugly little cabin in the mountains was something different. But I'll tell you what, she still remembers it. She has flashbacks and memories that we can still talk about going to that cabin, right? She remembers that. That's the thing. That is the thing, is that instead of presents, she remembers those events. She remembers, she can recall memories more than the things that she no longer has. The things that she received were not nearly as important as the memories she received. So I tie this back to a financial discussion with this attorney that I was talking with, that I believe that this decision on my part to make our relationship, my daughter and I, in more of an event and a memory-based relationship made it possible for Madeline and I to have some conversations about money and about financial planning and things that we were able to talk about even when she was young, right? Now, I was never good at not spoiling Maddie. Heaven knows that I worked a lot harder as a kid than Madeline has. And I mean that with all the love in the world to my mom and dad. I grew up in a very modest income household, son of a cop and a nurse. And my dad and my mom, they worked hard. They were hard workers. My dad was just a great example of someone that's just an honorable, good man, worked hard. And he expected me to work hard alongside. He didn't work me like a little slave labor camp or anything like that, but he definitely, and my mom as well, but they made us work. Chores and yard work and shovel in the driveway and all that stuff. Just Madeline was spoiled for sure, right? Okay. However, she was expected to mow the lawn when she was old enough to walk behind the lawnmower. I was adamant that as soon as she was able to walk behind the lawnmower, she would learn how to mow a lawn. Because I tell you what, I don't know how many kids nowadays have no idea how to actually mow their own lawn. I could not abide by that. So Maddie learned how to mow the lawn. She learned how to use the trimmer. She learned how to empty the bag. She learned how to mow the lawn. And eventually, she got to mow the lawn by herself. She did not like it. She did not like it at all. She was also expected to do chores around the house, including cleaning the bathrooms, vacuuming and dishes, etc., dusting and so forth, right? She was also tasked with collecting all of the bottles and cans. She would collect them from her grandmother. She'd collect them from home, and she would gather them all up and organize them and put them in her bags. And then I would take her to the recycling center, and Maddie would stand in line, and she would get to keep half of the proceeds of her bottles and cans collection. And the other half, she kept half and she could spend the rest. So she kept half in her savings account, and then she could go ahead and spend the other half. Sometimes she'd have $8. Sometimes she'd have $16. She'd get a big haul, right? So she started learning early on the value of saving and having money to spend because of her work. She also had her first interaction with homeless people because I insisted that she stand in line. I wouldn't stand in line. These weren't my bottles and cans. So she would stand in line. Of course, I would stand next to her, but she would stand in line oftentimes with men and women who came in with shopping carts or on bicycles. And clearly they are saving these bottles and cans just to probably buy a sandwich or something, right? They're working hard. And there's Madeline in there, and she had to stand there, and she's doing her job, her recycling job. She didn't like it, but it definitely taught her some work and a little bit of work ethic. Now, you ask, did we ever talk about money? Did I ever talk about money with Madeline? You better believe I did, whether she liked it or not. And still to this day, whether she likes it or not. Right? She has heard me teach, for example, never pay retail. Oh, she is all about when she grew up, she was all hearing messages from grandmas and family members about, oh, you got to go here to Nordstrom and this and that and designer label this. And it was a constant fight for me just to get my message through, to break through, to say, no, please don't just pay retail. Look for the deal. Look for the bargain, right? I've taught her the financial castle talk, the building your financial castle with protection and a foundation and then growth, building it properly. We've talked about life insurance. Madeline has a couple of cash value whole life insurance policies that she's had in her name since she was young. And these are things that I've done, but we've talked about life insurance as an asset and something that she can use as she gets older, something that could be very useful to her. So again, whether she likes it or not, and most of the time she doesn't like it, we've been able to have conversations. Well, I've been able to talk to her about financial stuff, but I've never shied away from it. I talk to her whether she likes it or not because she's still on my payroll. So I told her, hey, too bad. If you're not on my payroll, you don't have to listen. But for the time being, you're on my payroll. You got to listen. We've talked about 401k or not to 401k recently because she just started a new, relatively new job that will come up and offer perhaps a 401k in the future, right? And we've talked about 401k or not to 401k. That was a big deal. And for her right now, it's probably going to be not to 401k. The idea of being in a zero tax bracket and then deferring money into the long distance future so that you can pay taxes on the entire amount. Holy moly, 401k, probably not a good idea. Now, a Roth 401k, maybe, right? Maybe. Now, I have another refresher course planned for Madeline coming up here soon. We're in the summertime right now. She and I are going to have a meeting where she's working full time there where she's going to college. And we're going to have a web meeting where we have a refresher course and we talk about things in a bit more depth now because she's been doing a good job paying her own way and working and going to school. So I think it's time for a refresher course. Now that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I want to remind you of a special offer. I might have to put a hold on this, so I'm going to try it one more time. We've had a really good response on this, so I'm going to put it out one more time. I have to be mindful that the offer is not entirely without some potential extra work for me. When you offer something for free, some folks don't value free things. So let me tell you what we've got. This is a special offer for my listeners. This is access to the eMoney platform, the eMoney financial platform. It has everything: cash flow planning, budgeting, estate planning, advanced planning, goals planning, aggregation of all your data. You can see your investment accounts, your 401ks. You can see your checking and savings and all things in real time. Okay. You can actually go through investment planning and retirement income scenarios. There's so much available, including a secure vault for emergency access to your documents like trusts and wills and powers of attorney. Okay. So eMoney is a program that is usually only available if you engage with a financial planning firm. Financial planning firm that is of a really serious caliber. You don't get access to eMoney from just any old financial planning firm or financial advisors. You really end up with a financial advisory relationship that you're either paying for or there is a fee for service built in to the investment management component. eMoney is not generally just a freebie. So to have access to this quintessence, this best of the best cash flow planning and data aggregation tool is awesome. So please don't mistake free for that doesn't sound like a great deal. It's an insane deal. So my concern is that if the interest continues to be as busy as it has been, I may have to pull that back a bit because it does end up requiring a bit of work on my part sometimes. So I want to make sure to be careful, but I also want to be mindful and put it out there. If you haven't already taken advantage of sending me an email at Kraig@kraigstrom.com, and in the subject line, just write eMoney. It's one word, letter E, money, and I will send you the link for the eMoney free trial. I say free trial. I think as long as I can continue to get your support as a podcast listening family, I want to make that available to my podcast listening family. So there's the offer. definitely check that out. Send me the emails. I love it when I get them, and I will send you the link to get your e-money set up. Take care. Make sure you take action on this stuff. Don't just sit there like your frog on the log. Get off that log and take action. I'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you are there, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening.
Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.